Wow, amazing you. Welcome to the final stretch in our Wellbeing Challenge. I'm so excited because in this last phase, we're working on something that is quite unique. If you remember how we all started this challenge, we focused the first few days on working on our inner self. How can we impact positively the thinking, the thoughts, the feelings that are happening inside us so that they can overflow positively into the rest of our life, okay? And then we moved into physical exercising and all the things in our outer world that we could influence positively. And finally, in this last stretch, it is about the relationships in our lives. And yes, relationships, that is so important. You might wonder why. And I will tell you, actually. It is a unique thing if you look at how your day runs, how you feel in this very moment, or how you felt when you woke up, how you felt when you stepped out to work, or when you stepped back at home today. If you look at all of that, you will realize that the way you feel in this very moment is actually shaped by the quality of relationships you have. It's shaped by the interactions that you're having with the people in your day to day. And so relationships as human beings, we are that species. Actually, all of the species work in groups. But in human being is even more important. And the way we feel towards the people that are in our lives influences how we feel. So we're going to work on our relationships. And how we're going to do that? This particular day, we're going to do it in 3 parts. And so follow through with me. First part, we're going to do what I call our relationship map. We will draw the map of the people and the relationships in our life. In part 2, we will look at the positive relationships, examine them very well, look at insights of things that could be taken from our positive relationships so that we may use those to influence our tense relationships. And finally, in part 3, we'll focus on the tense relationships. What are the things from there that we could do? What is happening in those relationships? And eventually, how could we use some empathy and some specific tools to improve the tense relationships or get rid of some of those that are just toxic in our lives? So that is what we are up to. And before you dive into each of the parts, please keep a piece of paper, some pen, 3 different colors, please. And so get those before you go ahead in this particular day. And when you have all of those ready, then go into part 1. All right, part 1 of our relationships. Drawing our relationship maps. You will see an example below just to give you an idea of what a relationship map looks like. So you can have a look quickly. What I want you to do is on your sheet of paper, go on the central place on your sheet of paper, draw a small cycle. Inside that cycle, write the initials of your name. For me, it's RA. For you, it's let's name it. Then, write all around that cycle, go a little bit far away, okay? And write all around that cycle different people in your lives. Write it in initials. So think about the people you spend the most time with during your week or during your day. There might be 5 people, 10 people, 15 people, but write those, I would say those that you spend the most time with because those are the most important ones. So write them, write the initials of each of them all around in the cycle as well. So you have your map in the center, your name, your initial, all around it a little bit far away. You write all the other people, right? And when you write those around you, then this is where the 3 pen colors are needed. You could decide, for example, so you agree on your color code. For example, green might mean these are amazing relationships. So draw a line from the cycle where there is your initial towards that particular person's initial in green. If this is an amazingly great relationship, okay? Then you might choose blue, for example, for the relationships that are so-so. Like it's not that amazing. It's just, sometimes we have those kind of relationship with co-workers at work, but we actually have some of those colleagues who we have amazing relationship with, which could be in the green. But in the blue, you could have some of those people where the relationship just so. There's nothing bad or negative about it. It's just there. Right? Use the blue pen, if that is the color you decided, to draw a line between your name and those people as well. And finally, use the third color. In my case, I'm using red. Red to draw towards the relationships, towards the people who you feel like there's a tense relationship. Something is not going well. Something needs to improve. In some cases, I would call them toxic relationship. And if it's hard for you to think of how do you know if the relationship is tense, it's just think about that person's name right now. What kind of energy flows through you? Is it a positive vibe or is it a negative vibe? Do you feel stressed when you think about the person? Do you feel like afraid? Or do you feel like angry and so forth? So red is for that person or those people in your life. So draw that, and that is a relationship map. And maybe you want to observe it and look at what insight that gives you. What does that tell you? It's your choice. It's your choice. It's your call. Okay. That is our relationship map, and we're now going into part 2. All right, part 2 of relationships. Now let's look at our map. Okay, I believe you probably have some great relationships, and you have some who are not great, and we're going to work on both. Okay, we will forget about the blue ones, the ones that are so-so. Nothing is good or nothing is wrong about them. We're not going to focus on those. We're going to focus on those that are on the extremes, great and not great. So let's start with the ones that are great. Can you take another page of paper or piece of paper, write on it? Actually, I prefer if you can do this in a notebook so that you can go back to this and you don't have to just stay limited to some papers that you might lose after today. And all of what we're doing, we're going to write a little bit, not that much. So take another page and choose among the great and positive relationships, choose 2 of them that you can write on your next page. And take each of them. I want you to answer 5 questions. First is, what do you usually do in your relationships in that person? What is the kind of interaction that you have? Is it, for example, that you always send them a WhatsApp message each day, or it's actually something around family interactions? Like, what kind of interactions you have with them? I don't want to dictate anything here, so take free flow. Question number 2 that you must answer: how do you feel about that person? Do you think they bring you positive energy? Do you think they are nice people? Do you think they are positive and happy person? Whatever you feel about that person, write it. That's your question number 2. Number 3, on a scale of 1 to 5, how honest do you think you are when you're engaging with them and talking with them? How authentic? How do you let go of your guards and really are authentic in your conversations, in your exchanges with this person? Write that. And on a scale, so that's question number 4, on a scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied do you feel about that relationship? Okay, 5 meaning on the extreme you feel amazingly satisfied, and 1 meaning I don't feel satisfied at all. Okay, so how do you feel? And the final question, here's a reflection for you, and put it in written. What insight does this give you about some ways or some practices or approaches that you could use to cultivate more of those positive relationships in your life? So that is a reflection to make. And I think whenever you write, it takes you to another level. So write that, okay? And once you're done with those 2 people, let's move back to our map. Let's look at the tense relationships and let's pick one of them. Okay? Let's just pick one for the sake of time today. So take another page and do the same exercise you just did for the positive relationships. Same 5 questions. Let me just remind them here. 1, what are the kind of interactions you have with a person? 2, how do you feel about them? 3, on a scale of 1 to 5, how honest or authentic are you in your engagement, in your discussions, in your collaborations with that person? 4, on a scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied do you feel about that relationship? And question number 5, what are the insights that this offers you about maybe the things that you are doing right now that are making the relationships in your life, some of them not as good as you wish?